Hello and welcome to one of my little mini guides on a couple of little characters in Christmas Carol, Ignorance and Want. Right, so these two little fellas, we're going to get right to it. These are two allegorical characters, which means they're not real characters. They're not like got a proper name, age, date of birth, whatever. They are allegorical, so they represent an idea, and they represent Dickens' central belief that want is pretty bad. If we want things, that's not great, but ignorance is even worse. And through these two characters, Dickens shows that it's actually ignorance that is destroying our world, not necessarily that we want more things. So I've got four little quotes here that I want to share with you. First one, stale and shrivelled. Now this continues this symbolism of food that Dickens has used right the way through. We've seen lots of prize turkeys, we've seen oysters, we've seen glowed like lobsters. We've got obviously the ghost of Christmas present that rocks up on a mountain full of food. And here now we've got ignorance and want, that symbolism of food continues. Before we could see there was plenty of food to go around when the ghost of Christmas present turned up, but that opportunity to share all that food and to make sure everyone has their fair share in society is being wasted, and instead our society is going stale and it's shrivelling up because of our selfish greed. We've also got the sibilance. Now any sibilance like that is always a threatening hiss. So these two little children, this boy and this little girl, they're something that society fears because we don't like the needy, we fear the needy, we don't want to help other people. This is also an attack on the Poor Law 1834 because this is our children, this is a boy and a girl, our children, our future, our hope, and they are without a life of any quality and they're just being left to an undignified death. I then go on to point two. So obviously both of these two children are horrible, nasty, scary, and not very pleasant. But Dickens makes the point that the one we need to be most careful of, the one that's got doom written above their brow, is ignorance. Okay, everyone wants things. Everyone in the world wants things, but we can only start making a difference to our lives and the lives of people around us when we stop being ignorant of others' needs and we educate our way out of our own ignorance. Now, this is particularly pertinent because of Dickens' life. Dickens was he had to give up his school because he had to go and pay off his father's debts. His dad went to prison because he couldn't pay off his debts. And Dickens knew firsthand the importance of education to work their way out of poverty, and he had to do it the hard way because he had school, he lost it, and then he had to return and continue his studies to pursue his career as a writer. He also dedicated a large chunk of his life to building the ragged schools, which would meant the poor could access education. So here, this allegorical image of this little kid called ignorance being the one we most need to fear, well, that's just aligned with Dickens's attitude and principles towards the whole of his life, that education is our way out of all problems from both the top and bottom of our society. Point three, I've got four little words here that I would talk about. So the first two go together, claw and wolfish. Dickens is using his zoomorphism of wolves. Now, the fact that he doesn't call them like children, but he dehumanises them to animals, that reflects the Poor Law's dehumanisation of our most needy. We don't see them as people that have an identity that needs supporting. We just see them as animals, as things in our society. But I think it's also key that he chose wolves. Wolves are a symbol of terror and fear, and if we actually did face our reality of our society, it would probably haunt us. It would probably terrify us to see the children that are hungry, to see the children that aren't given a chance. He also describes them as yellow and meagre. Now, these are children. Children are representatives of the future of our society, the future of our humanity, and that future is yellow and meagre. It is sick, it is weak, and therefore the very core and future of our society is rotting from within. Finally, and this is kind of the headline point of Ignorance and Want, when Scrooge asks whose children they are, the ghost says they are man's. So this is a problem. This ignorance and want is a problem that man has created, and therefore it's man's responsibility to do something about it. So the ghost's message to Scrooge is that from today he must start caring more for the people in need than his own want and ignorance.